guys, welcome to another video on my channel. My name is Trisha for anyone that's new, and this is a little tchotch for you. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 size misconceptions regarding reptiles. I kind of just came up with these one day. I was thinking about this topic randomly and I was like, you know what, that would be a good video. So I'm going to go over all of that today, and maybe you guys already know all of this, or maybe you'll learn something new, but regardless, you're going to see some of my cute animals today because I'm going to try to make this a little bit more interactive and show you guys examples. So yeah, we're going to jump right into it. So we're going to start off with the absolute most basic size misconception regarding reptiles. I guarantee you've most likely heard this one. Chacho, I'm holding Peaches. Peaches is very, very tiny, as you can see, and Chacho likes to sniff all of the animals. Are you done? Did you get your sniffs? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to show you guys Peaches a little bit closer in case you can't really see. And there's a cute little Peaches. So the very first misconception regarding size with reptiles is that your reptile will stay small if you keep it in a small tank. This has been going on since like the beginning of reptile keeping. I feel like it was the #1 huge misconception and mistake regarding reptile keeping. And it happens all of the time, mainly with turtles and tortoises, because people go and buy a tiny little turtle or tortoise and they're like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep it in this tiny little enclosure and it's not gonna get bigger and it's gonna stay the size of the tank. People say the same things about fish, which I'm not too familiar with fish. Fish might stay like smaller and smaller tanks. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. I really don't know about fish at all. But with reptiles, that's untrue, and these guys are gonna grow regardless. So a lot of people get these tiny little tortoises like Peaches, and they think that if they keep it in a small tank, it's not going to get big and they're not going to have any issues. But then one day they're going to wake up and their tortoise is going to be significantly larger and they're going to have a problem on their hands. So that's why research is so important, and it's great to knock out this misconception. That way people can plan for the potential size and growth of their reptile that they're purchasing. A lot of the time people have seen examples where tortoises or turtles actually do stay a little bit smaller, and that actually doesn't matter with the size of the tank whatsoever. A lot of the times that happens because the turtles or tortoises are getting an improper diet. They aren't getting all of the nutrients that they need, or they may not be getting proper humidity or temperatures. So it usually just comes down to a husbandry issue and not so much the size of the tank, because that really shouldn't hinder their growth whatsoever. So that is the very first misconception, and that is my tiny little Peaches for you guys to get a little view of, because Peaches is literally the cutest thing on the planet. She eats like there's no tomorrow, so I can't wait to see this little one grow, but she's just, oh my god. Baby dinosaurs are the cutest things on the planet. So I'm going to go ahead and put Peaches back, and we will move on to the next misconception regarding size and reptiles. So the next size misconception, we are going to be using Dude as an example, who just woke up and he's like, what are you doing? Why am I here? Chacho must smell Dude always. Man, come on. Why do you guys sniff everyone? They all smell pretty much the same as last time. So the next one is basically regarding the size in inches when it comes to purchasing a reptile. It seems like a lot of people aren't aware that when people are talking about the size in inches regarding reptiles, they're actually talking about the tip of their nose all the way to the end of the tip of their tail. So a lot of people think that bearded dragons are just like massive and huge. But really, when you're just looking at like their main body, like their abdomen and like this big thick area, it's really not too big. In my opinion, I think beardies are just like the perfect size. They just like fit in your hand, and then like, yes, there is a very long tail, but the tail doesn't really do anything. There are a lot of like, there's like these long-tailed anoles. I don't know if that's their specific name, but there are some anoles that are really tiny in like their body, but then their tail is just so long. So then like if you read that as like the full inches of how big they're gonna get, people are like very intimidated. But a lot of the times it's just the length of their tail that throws them off. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's not really a huge misconception, but people that are new to reptile keeping and doing their research, they'll read that an animal just gets so big in inches and they just think that maybe their animal isn't big enough, or they're intimidated and they don't want an animal that big. But a lot of the time it's just all tail. So just keep that in mind when doing your research and picking out an animal for you. And here's a little dude for you. So the next misconception has to do with Banba, my veiled chameleon, because he is the master of tricking everyone about this. And by the way, he's doing amazing after his surgery, for anyone that's curious. He still has 2 sutures in. They are dissolvable, but we're going to see if they come out on their own. If not, I'll just take him back to the vet and get them out. They were able to take 1 out, but it was too soon to take all of them out. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and he's all done with injections, which is amazing. So I'm sure he's happy about that. But anyway, back to this topic. So the misconception with Banba is that everyone thinks that he is way larger than he actually is, and they compare him to their chameleons, and they think that their chameleons are really, really small or just unhealthy, and that's not true whatsoever. Banba, whenever I hold him on the camera in like a picture or even a video, I'm holding him in front of me just like this. And he does look really, really big when I hold him like this. However, he's just a basic normal veiled chameleon. People think I'm either really small and he's really big or whatever it is. I'm just holding him closer to the camera so he appears larger. If I bring him back and put him on my shoulder or something and he's more equal to the size of me, you'll see he's actually just a normal veiled chameleon. If he would get off of my hand. He is clenched onto 1 finger. But as you can see, now that he's farther back, he looks significantly smaller than he did before when I was holding him up closer to the camera. So that's just one little misconception that I see all the time that people are always asking me about. They're like, how is he so huge? And it's just all about the camera and angles for this guy. Another thing that people get confused about with him is, again, they'll look up like the size and length and how big they get. And you have to remember it's going to include that long and curly arboreal tail. So you need to keep that in mind as well, just like I mentioned in the last one. So yeah, Banba is a little trickster and everyone thinks that he's just massive when he's just an average chameleon. You want to come down and say hi to everyone? So here's one last little look at Banba because he is stunning. And again, he just looks so much larger than me when I hold him in front of me. That's just how it goes. So the next misconception regarding the size in reptiles is that you cannot use snake sheds to measure how long your snake is. Everyone is always asking me how long Bowie is, and Bowie is so hard for me to measure because she's just all over my body and constantly moving. And people are like, why don't you just look at her snake shed? So I'm just gonna let you guys see what her snake shed looks like and then compare it to her body, because it is a significant difference, and it's not an accurate way to measure how big your snake is, because when they shed, all of the skin actually stretches. So that is not how big your snake actually is, and I'm just going to show you guys an example so you guys can see for yourself. So I have Bowie's last shed with me right now, and it's quite large. Like, I held it up in a picture. I'll post it on here for you guys to see. But it's literally like the size of my body. It's maybe a little bit longer because this is actually ripped at the end. It's not even a full shed because I ripped it when I was pulling it out. But when I'm holding it up, it like, actually the front is ripped too. So this literally isn't even how long the shed is because it's ripped on both sides. The head is missing and the tail is missing. And right now, I have it touching the floor. And it is exceeding my body. I am 5'6". So, and it is much taller than me by this much. So, yeah. Not how big Bowie is. I'm going to go ahead and take Bowie out so you guys can see how big she is compared to all of this going on. So I have Bowie here now, and whenever I take her out, she's always like bunched up on me, which is why it's also just impossible to measure her. I feel like I just need another person. I'm always by myself here because my boyfriend is always at work, and he's not really into snakes too much. So yeah, I'm going to wait for her to spread out so that way you guys can see how big she actually is. I mean, she is pretty big. She's wrapped fully around my hand. But she's definitely not as big as that shed. Like, there's no way that she's, like, in length taller than me and I'm 5'6". Like, that's not happening. There's no way. So yeah, there's a Bowie. She is pretty big. She's very thick. She's getting so much bigger. I'm sure she has a little bit more growing to do, but she's definitely not taller than me in length. So again, you cannot use snake sheds to measure how long your snake is. It's not accurate, and that skin stretches. So just keep that in mind because that is one of the misconceptions. And here's a cute little Bowie. And we are here with Chaos, my ball python, who is just sitting in a little ball. And we are going to be talking about the final misconception regarding reptiles and their size. And this basically comes down to the size that you should be feeding your snake, which I talk about all the time on this channel. But some people still aren't aware. They may be new to reptile keeping or new to my channel. So basically this misconception is that you should feed a snake a size rodent that is the same size as their head. Some people think that this is what they need to do, and this is really wrong, especially with ball pythons because they have such small heads compared to the rest of their body. And what you should actually be doing is feeding them a rodent that's as thick in girth as the thickest part of your snake. So ball pythons have a very, very thick girth, and that is going to be the same size, thickness, and girth for the rodent that you're going to want to be feeding them. It surpasses the size of their head significantly, so you want to make sure that you're not going off of their head size whatsoever when you're feeding your snake. But those are all of the misconceptions regarding size when it comes to reptiles. I hope that maybe you guys learned something new. If there's someone that's new to reptile keeping and they need to see this, please send it to them. I hope that this can help somebody out. And Chaos is finally trying to come out. So I hope that you guys all have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in the next video.